I ain't really been in the mood for fake news. Are you a ock or a op? Can't choose, you fake too. Ruach HaKodesh, my force field like can't bruise. The most high, put my feet on the gas, I can't cruise. Praise the most high, feet on the grass, I can't lose. Stick to the plan like we building a house, now make room. You ain't never seen me in this color like Beirut. People acting like repenting is something they can't do. Are you dumb or not? People choosing hell over heaven, but they know it high. Of course, you can find me in the present like I know the spot. He gave me these words, what a blessing, I'ma pour it out. People seeing water where my breath is, yeah, I flow a lot. Holy Spirit shining in the dark like you control the tide. People out here thinking it's a game, but you control the fry. If you thinking what I'm saying is lame, I can't socialize from now on. I'm just gonna stay in my lane like I'm motorized. What you thought? I should dumb it down to maintain. You going off, the devil turning up, so I am too. Now going soft. Every scripture in that Bible a sword. This is a war. What you thought? An Naviel gon' help you see clear, just like the frogs. The Most High speaks, but they don't fear him. When he talk, you don't want to hear them words, don't know you. So depart, repent. Yeah.
Do good in thy good pleasure, O Zion. Build out the walls of Jerusalem. Oh, Father, hear me. Forgive me. And purge me from my sins and iniquities. Hallelujah. Oh, Father, we praise you. Hallelujah. In the last days, thy sons and daughters shall prophesy and call upon the name Yod-Heh, Wad-Heh. Humble, let's meditate and take. Cry aloud and spare not. Let's get it.
I'm watching that clock like we in the fourth quarter. Messiah is coming, it's almost the hour. We roll with 144,000. He blessed the elect, yeah, he's showing his power. And I've been fasting, so that mean I'm hungry. So that mean the demons I have to devour. Reading Ephesians, I don't fight with flesh and blood. I fight with principality and power. Please tell the evil, don't challenge me. My name is humble, I gotta be, I'm a descendant from the tribe of Benjamin. Don't wake the wolf up inside of me, Heaven to hell, bottom or top. I pick the top like a lottery, Get it? Lottery, top, pick. I pick the top like a lottery, Forget it. Israelite, yeah, my squad is the biggest. His nationality is not a religion. Pharisees trying to catch you slipping. They watch me like a museum exhibit. I don't have to beg the laws, I live it. You are living a facade, I get it. And you don't believe in y'all, you ignorant. Visionary, don't fit your description, I'm gone.
Yod-Heh, Wad-Heh, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob,
Yod-Heh, Wad-Heh. Humble, let's meditate and take. Cry aloud and spare not. Let's get it.
All right. How's everybody doing out there? I see my boy John out there. Anybody else as you guys come in, make sure you say hello. If you like, if you're a little shy, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. Let's see. First of all, I want to start off giving all honor and glory to our Heavenly Father. Call halal Yahweh by Hashem Hamashiach Yahawashi. That's giving all honor to the Heavenly Father and our Messiah, Yahawashi, or as the Christian world, or actually, I'll just say the world in general, knows him as Jesus Christ. I see streets out there too. Tonight, we're going to go back into, this is the part 2. Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Daniel's prophecy, part 2. The reason why I wanted to do part 2 is because I thought about it, a lot of people go into Daniel 2, they go into 7, but there's a lot of points that they don't hit. I guess Jose, I'll see if he catches, if he hops in later. He's supposed to be in, but I'm not sure where he is. But nonetheless, the show must go on. So what I'm going to do is I'll paraphrase a little bit. So Daniel 2, of course, is the statue. Daniel 3, what happens in there is it starts off with Nebuchadnezzar the king, and he decides after Daniel's dream to make this golden image, which I mean, it's a huge, giant. Let's see, the height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plane of. So, like, this is a giant, giant statue that he made that is made of gold. And now everybody is supposed to worship this statue. And I'm going to paraphrase to this. I'm going to run through Daniel 3, Daniel 4, skim through Daniel 5, so I can get us up to 6. We already know. Well, I might kind of skim a little bit of 7, and then we're going to go into 8, 9, and 10. That way we can give a full breakdown of what's going on in the book of Daniel, because a lot of people only hit those 2, and I think it's important that we understand all of this, because you're going to see a lot of these themes being reiterated in the book of Revelations with John. So let's see. So basically, yeah, he sets up this statue. I'm trying to find the part which I want. Okay. So Daniel 3 and 8. Let me put this on the screen. This is the part which I kind of want to get into. I won't spend too much time on it. But the Chaldeans were upset because the Jews did not want to worship this statue, and that they wanted to still stick to worshiping their own God. And so that started to become an issue. So let me share my screen. Let me put this up. Let's see. Switch here, and let's throw this on the screen so you guys can read along with me. So we're in Daniel 3. I'm going to start at 8. So Daniel 3 and 8. Wherefore at the time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. 10. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, suckbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. 11. And whoso falleth not down and worship, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Hold on a sec. That's Jose right there. Hold on a second. Hello. All right, Shalom. Hold on a second. All right, yeah, he'll be right in. I guess when I told him I was running a little bit late, he thought I was going to be running later than that. But yeah, he'll be in joining us. So let's get back to it. Let's see, 12. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar, 14. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? 15. Now, if ye be ready, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, suckbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye shall fall down and worship, which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. So he's saying we're not going to beat around the bush. We're going to be direct with you. 17. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hands. So they're like, we have our faith in our God. He's going to protect us. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So they're saying even if our God does not protect us in the flames, we are willing to die for this. So let's go on to 19. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So now you can see that visibly angry. He's upset. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was, not to be heated. Yeah. So he's really, really heating this thing up to make it really, really hot. 20. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. 21. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So he's basically saying they were thrown in with all their clothes on. 22, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. 23, and these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the fiery furnace. 24, then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. 25, he answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Which, if those who remember when it's talking about Abraham, Daniel's story echoes a lot of what happened with Abraham also, because Abraham was also thrown into the fire for not worshiping the gods of ancient Babylon, and for him actually mocking the statues, knocking them over, different things like that. And so this is a reoccurring theme about other nations trying to force the Israelite to go away from the Most High God and to follow these other idol gods. What's up, Yipper? Good to see you in here. So let's hop in, try to skim this. I think we hit about most of the point I want. Oh, we're almost there. 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. 27. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was a hair on their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. 28, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own. 29, therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak any things amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Belteshazzar also, of course, which is Daniel, but he's not in this part. But you guys get what I mean. Shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after these sorts. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Okay, so we skimmed through that. He set up this false idol that he wanted them to worship after getting that revelation of him being the golden head, part of that statue that was in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, which we read about in 2. Then let's skip on to 4. All right, and this one is him. Let's skim through here. Yes, this is him acknowledging the God of the Israelites. Now, the vision of the great tree, which I want you all to make sure to go back and read into this. Basically, this vision of the great tree is a parable, which is talking about Nebuchadnezzar. It's talking about his rise, how he basically, like a tree, stretches out and he's in command of everything. Like everybody's fed through his throughout him. Gives parables of like shade over the beasts and plenty of fruits and all these things. And let's see if I can find it really quickly where it talks about his name. It's going to talk about great. The tree grew strong and the height thereof reached into the heavens and the sight thereof, and all the earth. And this is basically talking about how his kingdom was a dominant kingdom over most of the known earth. Leaves their fair. But this okay. Daniel 4:14. He cried aloud and said thus, hew down the tree and cut off his branches and shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under and the fowl from its branches. 15. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, and even with the brand of iron and brass and in tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast in the grass of the earth. Now, for those that don't know what this is referencing what is going to, there is Jose right there. Shalom, brothers. Shalom.
Shalom. Sorry for being late.
Oh no, you're fine. So I like the light in the back.
Thank you. Brand new smart light bulbs.
Let me get you up to speed. I don't know exactly when you came in or not. What point did you come in on my break?
You were mentioning that Nebuchadnezzar was likened onto a tree.
Okay, yeah, because I decided that I kind of wanted to go back and kind of get everybody caught up to all the things that proceed up to Daniel 7. So we have here where it's talking about him being that great tree and him going to be shown down. Now, Jose, just a little test. What happens to King Nebuchadnezzar next?
So he sorry, you call me when my brain is booting up from sleep mode.
It's all right. Just like last week when I made a mistake on something and I caught myself and went back. It's all right. And there's stuff that I do not know also, or just been a while and you might have forgotten. What happens next after this? Well, you might not have realized the chronological order, what's about to happen next. What happens to Nebuchadnezzar next after this is when he kind of goes a little crazy, goes a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Let's find it here. Create the watchers. Okay, so let me put it back up on the screen. We're going to skim through this, try to get through this quickly, and get to the later chapters. There's going to be more stuff that we need to jump into and kind of break down. Where's that? I don't know why my screen is so small on this one. No, but anyway, let's hop back into it. So 17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whoever he will, and set up over it the basis of men. So what he's saying is, don't think because you're the king that it's because of you. It's like, I'm the Most High. I rule this. I decide who's going to run what and for how long they're going to run it. I raise up kings and I take down kings. And when he's talking about the basis of man, I know right now based is this special word that they use and say all the time, and that's supposed to be like a good thing. Well, in the Bible, when it says the basis of men, base, like if you're building something, a base is at the bottom. It's saying, I will take the men at the bottom and raise them up on high. And so that's what it's saying here when it says, and set it up over it, the basis of men. So let's get down to Daniel's interpretation. All right. Let's see, Daniel 4:19. Did you want to read?
Actually, I kind of did have a bit of a precept to.
You got a precept? Go ahead, pop in.
Yeah. Concerning like Nebuchadnezzar thinking that it's his own power. All right. Let me see. It's. Let me make sure that I got it right. Okay, so this is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. And I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures. I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. Verse 15. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up? Or as if the staff should lift up itself, as if it were no wood? And therefore shall the Lord of hosts, send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a fire.
That's a good precept. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read, and as I go through this, wherever, because you're going to definitely, it's going to be precept heavy in a chapter, in a couple of chapters. But trust me, it's going to be a lot that you're going to want to go into, especially when it starts going back into the breakdowns. So right here, when it gets into, oh, that's right. Let me put it back on the screen. Oh man, I took it down. So we're at Daniel 4:19. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. Keep in mind, Belteshazzar, this is Daniel. 20. That tree thou sawest which grew was strong, whose height reached into the heavens, and the sight thereof to all the earth. 21. Whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much. Let's skip down a little bit. All right. And whereas the king, 23, and whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven and said, hew down the tree and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, and even with the brand of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let its portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times pass over. 24. This is the interpretation, O king. This is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon which has come upon Lord, my Lord the King. So he's saying the interpretation is you're that tree. This is talking about you. 25. They shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. And they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven. And 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth to whomsoever it will. And 26. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, the kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. And this stump, which is talking about, how I understand this is, the kingdom doesn't end right away. But remember how we talked about that statue. You had the gold head, then you had the chest of silver. So at some point, we're going to start to see a transition that's going to happen from the gold head down to the silver chest, which is going to be that next kingdom. So in order for that kingdom to start to falter, it has to start somewhere. And this right here, I would argue, this is where you start to see the kingdom falter and start to go away. 27. Wherefore, O King, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. And so down here, it talks about, I'll skip forward, about 12 months later, he's walking through the kingdom of Babylon, and then all of a sudden, he basically kind of leaves the kingdom, and he's out there fulfilling this prophecy. And then it will go into him, for a certain amount of time that he'll be doing all of these different things, and then he'll come to accepting the power and honor of the Most High God and giving reverence. So, and then after that, shortly after that, he passes away. Did you have anything you wanted to add, sir?
No.
Okay. So, not doing too bad on time at all. 27th in, and we're to what? I think we're starting chapter 5. Okay. Belshazzar's feast. This is a key one when we start talking about getting towards the end of that empire. Daniel 5:1. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the thousands. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the gold and silver, which his father, Belshazzar, this is Nebuchadnezzar's son, he's taken over after Nebuchadnezzar is no longer the king anymore. And so then when he passes on, it's Belshazzar's kingdom now. While he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, his concubines might drink thereof. So he's going to take the Israelite stuff that they took, and now they're going to basically defile a lot of the Israelites, treasures which they took from them. 3. Then they brought the gold vessels that were taken out of the temple in the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. So basically, they take honorable things out of the house of God, and they just basically use it for a party.
Slovakia.
Yeah.
I get late. I'm late one time, and you steal my job.
Oh, trust me, you're gonna need to be on the precept game, because there's gonna be a lot of precepts coming up, especially once we get into 6 and 8. Well, we're gonna skip 7 since we did 7 last week.
All right.
I'm gonna speed through this as fast as I can, but don't worry, I'm not taking your job permanently.
All right.
All right. So Now here's the key part. 5. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. 6. The king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosened, and his knees smote one another. So he's trembling, he's shaking like with fear. 7. The king cried out to bring the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever read these writings and shew me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. 8. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known the make known to the king the interpretation thereof. See why I wouldn't take your job completely?
All right.
I get tongue-tied too much. Let's see. Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Okay, let's skip down. Okay, this is the queen coming in, and all these people are trying to basically fluff his ego and tell him, oh, don't worry, relax, king, relax. His wife is like, okay, there was a guy during your father's time, Daniel, he was very wise, and obviously the king blessed him. He was able to do interpretations. Why don't you call Daniel? So skip down. All right, here we are. Daniel interprets handwriting on the wall. So 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah? This part is key. They're reminding you, even though he's high up, he is still in captivity. So anytime you hear anybody talk about, oh, well, so these people are rich, you can't be a captive being rich. I know you guys have heard that argument with these pro ball players. And they'll say like they're basically like they're slaves, and they're like, "How can you be a slave? You're rich." Well, gladiators were slaves, and they were rich, but people don't realize that. Anyway, let's get back to it. Which art the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry. 14. I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is thee, and that the light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. Let me skip down. Yeah, basically he's saying that he will reward Daniel. Daniel's like, I don't need all the rewards. You can keep all the gifts. Okay, so boom. 18. O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. 19. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him, whom he would he slew, okay, and whom he kept alive, and whom he would set up, and whom he would put down. 20. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. So it's basically saying, you guys know, what's that one precept? You know what I'm thinking. Pride goeth before the fall. Right here, he had a lot of pride in him, and he would get all angry and at his whim. If anybody bucked against him, he would go after them. And so that's the reason why he's being taken down. He did this with Daniel, threatening him. He was going to kill Daniel. He was going to kill all 4 of them. Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Belshazzar or Daniel. He was going to kill all 4 of them when he was going to kill all the soothsayers and the magicians and all that in the beginning. He hadn't even went to him yet. And then again, he just threw the 3 of them into the flames because they wouldn't worship his God. And then again, he's, had that attitude. And so he got brought low first, humbled, and then taken out. Do you have something?
No.
Okay. So let's hop back in. All right. 21. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed it over it whomsoever he will. 22. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all this. So he basically is like, yo, you knew all this stuff that was going on with your father, and you still wouldn't be humble. And you had this opportunity to humble yourself now that you were the king, but you didn't. So 23, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven. So when he was, taking, when he was basically partying with the stuff that they had stolen from the temple, the Lord took that a little bit offensively. And they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold and brass and iron and wood and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all the ways which thou hast not glorified. So he's like, y'all putting glory into all this gold and silver and your wealth and these statues which can't see, can't hear, don't know anything. But the God who gives you life and breath, you don't even respect him or give him glory. 24. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. This is the writing that was written. Min mini tekal upsharing uphashin. I can't pronounce it. Sorry. This is the interpretation of things. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. So he's like, yeah, basically, this is a countdown to the end of your rule. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. So he's like, I've weighed you out and you're not measuring up. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. So he's like, I'm giving your kingdom over to the Medes and the Persians. 29, then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. 30, in that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being at 62 years. So when Darius was 32 years old, that's when he took the kingdom from Belshazzar, killing him.
Actually, one score is 20.
60.
So he's 62 years old.
62. Sorry. Thanks for the correction. Mr. Street says, is that Indonesia? No. Technically, that would be Iran, Iraq. I mean, that their area took over all of Iran and Iraq, and Media and Persia at that. Well, actually, they would have been closer to. I mean, probably more the Iraq side. Media and Persia would have been the other side. Would have been I might be getting them flipped. Iran going into like Afghanistan and all these other areas over Afghanistan. What's the other one right next to Afghanistan? Pakistan, and getting closer over to like India. So yes, Indonesian. So it would have been all these areas to the right, getting closer to Asia, away from. And at this point in time, Babylon had taken over basically the whole entire Levant. So they had that area basically like Iraq all the way over to about I want to say up to like the actually up to the borders of Egypt. I think they actually made Egypt. I don't think they took over Egypt, but they made Egypt a vassal state. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm not sure what the word is. I actually think um, they might be a translation of Aramaic. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure somebody who'll catch this video later on, they'll probably put it in the chat, and appreciations to them for giving us that knowledge. But yeah, I hadn't looked it up to double check yet. Okay, so boom, we got Daniel 5 done. Okay, 6. Okay, so this goes into Daniel and Darius, and this is going to go into, remember the same thing which happened with them going after Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. The same basic situation happens here between Daniel and Darius. They put out a decree to worship their gods, and for 30 days to not give any kind of prayer or supplication to your gods, to bow down to the gods of the Medes and the Persians. Well, these people had a beef with Daniel and the children of Israel. They figured, well, we can't really go after him on these grounds, so we can go after him for not keeping to this law, and so they reported against him. And because of the decree, they're like, hey, well, King, you made the decree. Anybody who didn't, let me see if I can find it. Anybody who didn't follow your law was going to get tossed into the lion's den. Actually, Jose, I want you to get Bell and the Dragon.
I was gonna pull up another piece of like for 6, and okay, I'm glad the Apocrypha's right here.
Well, okay. Well, what precept you got?
No, that's for a little bit later down the chapter.
Okay, yeah. But pull up Bell and the Dragon. I'm trying to figure which area, because it's literally one long chapter. It's not even like, it doesn't even have multiple books in it. And for those who don't know where this book is, this would be in, if you have a King James 1611, this will be in the Apocrypha. If you are reading from, I believe, even like a Berean Bible, I think they have it in there. A Catholic Bible would definitely have this. Or if you're reading from the Septuagint, all of these would definitely have Bell and the Dragon in there. Actually, I probably need to go grab my Bible. I'm thinking it's like 28.
Before or after the footprints?
After the footprints, because basically the dialogue here. Let me see how we're doing on time. See if I don't need to go into it or not. Oh, we're only at 43. I mean, got a little bit of time. I'm moving pretty good. So they're like, okay. Daniel 6 and 7, all the presidents and the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together, established a royal statute to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. And so this is something that these little governors here, they put this together and push this in front of the king so that they could make a decree. Basically, this is something that they were doing intentionally to go after Daniel. Um, 10. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he knelt upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did 4 times. So he just continued his same routine. 11. These men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplications before God. And so here they are, they're complaining about it. Oh, you said for 30 days that nobody's supposed to do it, but we found Daniel, one of the children of the captivity. He's over there doing it. This upset the king. All right. 15. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. So either the king is like, he don't really want to do it, but they're really pressing the issue that it needs to be done. Okay, 16. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. So he's kind of mocking him, like, hey, will your God deliver you? All right. 17. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of the Lord's, that purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. So they want to make sure to lock him in there for a course of time. Do you have Bell and the Dragon?
Yeah, I do. But was it at this point, like in him being and Daniel being cast into the lion's den, that you wanted me to read?
Yeah, at the point where he's been cast into the den.
Okay.
Because this part, when I first read this the first time, I was like, whoa, what? What happened? Okay, all right. Because this right here goes into more detail on what was going on at this point. Daniel paraphrases a lot of this, and it doesn't give you the full detail. But go ahead.
Bell and the Dragon, verse 29. So they came to the king and said, Deliver us, Daniel, or else we will destroy thee and thine house. Now when the king saw that they pressed him sore, being constrained, he delivered Daniel unto them, who cast him into the lion's den, where he was 6 days. And in the den there were 7 lions, and they had given them every day 2 carcasses and 2 sheep, which then were not given to them, to the intent they might devour Daniel. Now there was in Jewry a prophet called Habakkuk, who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl, and was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers. But the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, Go, carry the dinner that thou hast into Babylon unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. And the angel of the Lord took him by the crown, and bare him by the hair of his head, and set him through the vehemency of his spirit, and through the vehemency of his spirit set him in Babylon over the den. And Habakkuk cried, saying, O Daniel, Daniel, take the dinner which God hath sent thee. And Daniel said, Thou hast remembered me, O God, neither hast thou forsaken them that seek thee and love thee. So Daniel arose and did eat, and the angel of the Lord set Habakkuk in his own place again immediately. Upon the 7th day the king went to bewail Daniel. And when he came to the den, he looked in, and behold, Daniel was sitting. Then cried the king with a loud voice, saying, Great art thou, O Lord God of Daniel, and there is none other beside thee. And he drew him out and cast those that were the cause of his destruction into the den, and they were devoured in a moment before his face.
All right. And the part which today was talking about before that is, Daniel is kind of going forth and explaining why he worships his own God and basically goes into like mocking their God, that it's basically a false God, and you think that your God is a real God, but really it's people who are feeding this God. He's not even real, and he basically set up kind of a trap for the king to be able to figure out that there's somebody actually, the food that's being put in there, that people are coming and actually eating this food, and there's not a God who's really eating this. And then, of course, you guys know, let's see. Okay, I guess we can go on ahead and skip to the next chapter. So boom, let's put 7. Let's put it up on the screen. All right. So I guess this is kind of going back. 7 was going back to when he was giving Belshazzar the dream before, and so now with this a little bit more context, we'll just read like a little bit of this. So ready to take back over, sir?
Sure. I kind of.
Were you looking for something?
Yeah, I was kind of trying to find where Habakkuk, and what place Habakkuk, like in the regular Bible, like where he began prophesying, like to kind of show the magnitude of how the angel carried Habakkuk like from wherever he was over to Babylon. Like to Daniel.
He was in I believe he was in was he? I think he. I'm not sure. Now that I think about it, trying to think, was he in Israel? I believe he might have been in Israel. He took him all the way from Israel. And are you talking about when he took Habakkuk? When he took him to Daniel the lion den, or are you talking about when he was prophesying?
I guess both. Yeah, like okay. I'll ask you. Remind me to ask you this like after.
Or you can keep looking for it, and then we'll come back to it, and I'll read this while you look for it.
Okay. And yeah, let me start reading here. Oh, we're back to 7?
Yeah, back to 7.
Okay, from the top?
Yep.
All right. Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the son of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea.
And 4 winds is talking about wars. The great sea is talking about a mass of people. Okay, continue.
And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
And the 4 great beasts are 4 great kingdoms.
The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
And we already remember that first one, that was a lion with the eagle wings. That is talking about Babylon. That's talking about their symbol, the griffin. Continue.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
And that was talking about when basically Nebuchadnezzar was humbled down to like a man and having to give reverence to the Most High Father. Let's continue.
And beheld another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it.
And so this second beast right here is the Medo-Persian Empire, and it's talking about Cyrus and Darius. That's why it says one side was raised up on one side. It's an unequal kingdom. One side of the kingdom is more powerful than the other one, and the 3 ribs are the 3 major provinces that came from Babylon that were left. Continue.
And they said thus unto it, Arise, and devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it the 4 wings of a fowl.
And this is the Greek king. This is the Greek kingdom, Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Greek. I don't like to call him the Great. Leopard, because of how fast that he took over, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. This is representing his 4 generals that took over after him. Help me remember them all. Let's see. We had Ptolemy, Seleucus, Antiochus, and why am I missing the 4th one? Who was the 4th one? You remember? Yeah, I'll find it.
Wait, always seem to forget that 4th one.
We always forget that 4th one. Oh, crap. Why am I always forgetting that one? Cassander. That's who we're talking about. Cassander is the 4th one. And it's kind of interesting that I forgot this. I was just watching something the other day, and he was going through Cleopatra. And when you start going into Cleopatra, you start going into Ptolemy, and you start going into, because there was a lot of interbreeding in Mark Antony, and starts talking about Cassander and all of it's all bred in there. It's kind of ridiculous how much they're all basically inbred together. But sorry, that's a whole nother topic. Let's continue with 7.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, the 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth.
Let's stop right there. This 4th vision, this 4th beast that was dreadful and terrible. This is the Roman Empire. And right here, when it tells you it had great iron teeth, this was the start actually of the Iron Age. So it's literally, it's giving you all kind of hints. So continue.
It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
That 10 horns is the kingdoms which sprouted out of the Roman Empire. The reason why this kingdom is diverse from all the other ones is the way the Roman Empire it basically brought in all kind of different cultures from all over the place. It took everything from each one. These other 3 kingdoms had their different things about them that they were a little bit different. The Babylonians had their culture and kingdom. The Medes and the Persians did too. The Greeks did too, to a degree, even though they stole a lot from the Egyptians. But the Roman Empire, I was diverse from all, is it literally took all of the cultures before and encompassed them in. And also, you had people from all different regions literally a part of this one kingdom. So it literally encompassed all those kingdoms, basically kind of like the United States, how you have a melting pot of a bunch of different people from all over the place. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you can.
Verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, There came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
All right. Now, Jose, what is 8 talking about here? We already know that this beast was diverse. Talked about 10 horns, right? And the horns, I already said that they are the different provinces that came out, or not only provinces which became countries that came out of the Roman Empire. So what is this talking about here in 8?
So the little horn is talking about America,
Mm-hmm.
and the 3 of the first horns being plucked up by the roots are England, France, and Spain.
Mm-hmm. So what this is talking about, this little horn that's taken over, it's going to a new area to start conquering and devouring and doing like it was doing before. And so those 3 horns that it had to uproot to get its power base, the top 3 empires that were running things and kind of running roughshod all over the whole world were the British Empire, the French Empire, and the Spanish Empire. And basically, after the American Revolutionary War, you had, what was it, the French and Indian War was one of those that kind of broke its back, and also you had the War of 1812, where Britain and France were fighting each other. That kind of broke them apart, and they never kind of really recouped. Actually, even before the War of 1812, go all the way back to Napoleon. Under Napoleon, they kind of never, they were never really the same again. And then the same thing with the Spanish Empire. Once the Spanish, was it the Spanish American War, and they were kind of kicked out of those areas. That's when places like Puerto Rico and Cuba became their own country. Well, Puerto Rico for like 17 days. But that's when the Spanish were pushed out of, especially most of the Caribbean and Mexico, and they started being pushed out of more and more areas. In fact, they started having kind of revolts, more and more revolutions down in Spain, which pushed the Spaniards out, Spanish and Portuguese, for the most part out. There were still ones who stayed in power, but it pushed the nation, the kingdom out. And from that point on, that little horn, America kind of governed this whole area. When it talks about, and there were eyes like the eyes of a man, and mouth speaking great things. Think about the what was it called, Jose? Bring it back to my memory. I can't think of what it's called. Where the United States basically said, "This part of the world is ours."
Monroe Doctrine.
Monroe Doctrine. That's one of the great things that it starts speaking and deciding this whole part of the world is ours. And like I said, you will see the same correlation later on when we start talking about John's dreams and his revelations. Okay, this goes into more judgment. Well, we did 7, so we don't have to redo 7.
Mm-hmm.
Those who need to catch 7, that was just a little refresher, but watch the first video and you will get 7. Now, let's go on to 8. All right.
Daniel 8:1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai.
And this would be kind of roughly about Afghanistan to at this time. This would have been roughly around like Afghanistan, Pakistan, bordering on to getting over towards India. I'll continue.
Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. And the
All right.
higher,
So, talked about these 2 horns. Now, one is higher than the other. This sound familiar when he was talking about
the bear.
The bear lifted up on one side? This is the same thing it's talking about. Continue.
And the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great.
And in this time, this is when you start seeing the at this point in time when that one side pushed up all the way, this is when the Medes completely kind of collapsed and it became basically just the Persian Empire. For those who remember 300, they start talking about the immortals, and he's sending all these different people because they had conquered so many different regions. And at this point, they had basically spread across the whole entire Levant, the whole what you would call modern day Middle East. They were basically all over it. So when it talks about pressing westward and northward and southward, it was spreading everywhere. Expanding this kingdom in that region. Continue.
Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
This is talking about basically, I mean, I don't agree with the imagery in the movie. I think that those Greeks that it was showing in that first part, they look different. And like in the first part, they would look different than they did in the second part. That's a whole other argument. But this is showing when the Greeks did go, the second part, they go and they take out the Persians. This is what's happening here.
Verse 7. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
And remember, we talked about before the 4. What were they? The 4.
Diadochi or something like that.
Well, what it talked about after Alexander, the 4
great generals.
Well, it said 4 fowls. I can't remember what it said.
No, 4 heads.
4 heads with the wings of a fowl on it. This is that same thing that it's talking about. All right.
Verse 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground.
Now wait. When it talks about the this little horn right here, this little horn this time right here, and out came one came forth a little horn. This is talking about out of those 4 right here. Go fast. Notable came up 4 ones, the 4 winds. So it's saying out of that great horn came up 4 horns. And these are going to be different than 3 horns, which you'll hear in Revelation. So try not to get confused with all these different horns. Horns are just talking about power. So out of that great power came down to 4 powers, 4 winds. And they were these 4 winds, these 4 horns were basically, it was a lot of fighting because each one of them wanted to have what Alexander had. They wanted to have this one united kingdom. So this started a lot of fighting with the different nations and provinces and between these different generals themselves. But this one in particular, when you get to 9, and out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. When it's talking about this pleasant land, it's talking about Israel. Talking about east and south from that area. So it's talking about Israel, that this little horn. Jose, who would that little horn be that went to Israel and who was giving the Israelites a lot of grief and hell?
This is First Maccabees 1 and 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died, and the servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes.
Antiochus. That's who this little horn that is talking about here. I'll continue. Sorry.
Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
All right. Okay, so let's put this back up and let's read that again so you guys can see and follow. And so what it said here, and out of one of them came forth a little horn which waxed exceedingly great towards the south and towards the east and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. 11. Yeah, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. I'm sure you have a precept for that.
Yeah.
That Maccabees open, right?
It's still in the same chapter, First Maccabees 1, and let me see. Dang. Okay. First Maccabees 1 and 20. I'll start at 20. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt and he returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold, and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
This is how he took the daily sacrifice. It says, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down, like Jose just read. This is what it's talking about here in Daniel 8 and 11. Let me continue. Keep that up. Don't go anywhere yet. 12. And a host was given against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and practiced and prospered. 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto the certain saint which spake, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? You got it?
Let me see. First Maccabees 1 and 28. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judea, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceful words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side.
Yep, that's what I want. Because this is starting to go into and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host tribe.
Oh, okay. Let me just get 30 verse 39.
Yeah.
First Maccabees 1 and 39. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths unto reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath.
All right. Yeah. Let me pop back in. All right. Oh, let's see what John said there. BC and AD had a similar point of time destruction. Yeah, they both had a destruction, a massive destruction like this that happened. This temple there was destruction and damage done, of course, when the other captivities came. But under Cyrus allowed the Israelites to go back and start to rebuild the temple. And you were starting to have that rebuilding of the temple. And so any little bit that was rebuilt and reconsecrated was destroyed. Do y'all think we are in the 70 years? Is that what you're saying, the 70 years? Not, I mean, what were you going to say?
I think I see 7 D8, like 7 days.
Trying to, yeah. I was going to wait until you clarified.
So we are in the 70 years.
The 7-year period that talks about in Revelations. That's what he's talking about. I'll answer that in 1 second because that's more of a complicated question than it seems. I think we are in that period. Yes. Where exactly we are in that period, I can't say for certain, but I do think we are in that period. Let me hop back into Daniel. Oh yeah, did you read the what was it? Abomination of Desolation. I think that's what it was. That was. I guess. Maybe it's just the translation. Just to read now. 15. And it came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. 16. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. 17. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. 18. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in deep sleep on my face towards the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. Oh, sorry. Jose, take over. I'll finish 19 and then you take over. And he said, behold, I will make thee what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at this time appointed the end shall be. All right, 20.
The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper, and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And the vision.
Sorry. Go ahead.
And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days.
So right here, he's giving him the breakdown and the understanding, but he's going to tell him to close this up. Don't worry, in the end days, understanding will come. Continue.
And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it.
All right. 9 and 1.
Daniel 9 and 1. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem.
Now, right here, Daniel is telling you that he understands the number of the years. He understands that last part. He was basically been giving the full understanding of prophecy, like foreshot from his time period all the way through the rest of these empires. And in this time period, Daniel is living from the end of Babylon, the Babylonian Empire, into the Medes and Persians.
I think he's the only prophet to make it through 2 captivities.
I mean, technically, you can. Yeah, well, yeah, two captivities. Yeah, I think you're right, and this is why people definitely need to read Jeremiah, because it's letting you know that the same thing that Daniel was talking about, Jeremiah is talking about the same thing also. Oh, where we go?
2. Oh, okay. 3. Daniel 9 and 3. And I set my face unto the Lord God to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto the Lord my God and made my confession and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments.
And that's why they're in these captivities repeatedly. But continue.
Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants the prophets, which spake in thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near, and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee.
And the reason why he's saying this, going back to and unto Israel, because I get most of our audience will probably know this. The people who watch will know this. But when it says to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, this is mostly talking about the southern kingdom. But there are some, as Deacon will say, and we'll say some twos and views, and unto all Israel. That are near, because you've got to remember the Syrian captivity displaced majority of the northern kingdom. So unto all of Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespasses that they have trespassed against thee. That's the reason why the gospel has to be preached into all the nations, because the Israelites are going to be in all of the nations. But continue.
Damn, or like I haven't just a moment. Like I haven't really paid much attention to Daniel after chapter 7, and it's been a while since I read the book in its entirety. But me reading the book of Baruch more often, that's another way of corroborating Baruch's legitimacy, because Daniel essentially repeats Baruch 1 and 15, and ye shall say, to the Lord our God belongeth righteousness, but unto us the confusion of faces.
Yep.
As it has come to pass this day unto them of Judea and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to our kings and to our princes and to our priests, to our prophets and to our fathers, for we have sinned before the Lord.
Yeah. Now you see what he's hearkening back to what Daniel was praying.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of a nerd out there.
Well, it was the same thing with like how it was it Malachi 1 and 4, how Paul is hearkening back to that in Romans 9 and 13.
Yep.
And then again, believe it or not, that's I mean we can go on and on, but I'm not going to do it. Well, let's continue.
Daniel 9 and 9. To the Lord our God belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. And he hath
I just want to throw that in here. How they have sinned against Moses, because they are sinning against the Mosaic law. That's what that's talking about. So anybody who likes to, we're in the new covenant, Daniel is talking about he's talking about his time, and he's talking about all the future prophecies to the end. So why would he be even referencing the law of Moses if it's not going to be applicable all the way through? Oh, sorry, continue.
Verse 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judge us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. Therefore hath the Lord watched upon the evil, and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obeyed not his voice.
And that's what this is saying here, just to paraphrase and kind of break it down. The Lord is watching this evil be done to us because we won't listen. It's kind of like if somebody told you, hey, if you go over there, you're going to fall and hurt yourself, and you don't listen and you keep doing it, and then you do fall and hurt yourself. Well, you were told not to do it. It's the same thing with a parent and a child. Parent tell the kid, hey, stop tugging on that. Stop tugging on that. They keep tugging on it. It falls on them, hurts themselves. The parent kept telling them. It's the same thing with us. We don't listen, and we're not listening, so we get punished. Continue.
Verse 15. And now, O Lord our God, that hast brought thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and hast gotten thee renown as at this day, we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city, Jerusalem, thy holy mountain. Because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, O our God, hear the prayer of thy servant and his supplications, and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary that is desolate, for the Lord's sake. O my God, incline thine ear and hear. Open thine eyes, and behold our desolations and the city, which is called by thy name. For we do not present our supplications before thee for our righteousnesses, but for thy great mercies. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not, for thine own sake, O my God, for thy city and thy people are called by thy name.
All right. So that was his prayer of supplication. What was I wanting? There's something that I wanted to bring up. So, where it was talking about that it was what was it? Another way where he made the sanctuary abominable as Antiochus. He actually, or Antiochus, however you want to pronounce it. I believe he sacrificed swine's flesh on the altar also before destroying it. Pretty sure I remember that.
In in the Maccabees.
In the Maccabees. Where'd you leave off at?
Yes, he did. Oh, I'll get it for you right here. First Maccabees 1:44.
Okay.
For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Yep. That's the abomination of desolation there. And so, let's see, what are we looking like time-wise?
30-ish minutes.
Okay, roughly about 20, 24 minutes or so. If we're keeping to the 2 hours. Let's see. Skip down to I want to say go for what 24. I guess I won't try. I'll try not to interrupt much. So start with 24 because I want to get to 10.
Okay. Daniel 9:24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
I wanna break down that so bad, but well, actually, you know what? I can't leave that without explaining something. Can't get beyond that. Can't do it like that. Oh, let's get back down. Okay. So when it's talking about these 70 weeks are determined upon the people and upon the holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins and the reconciliation for iniquities, and bring everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy into the most holy. This is literally talking about the end of the Messiah return. Well, it talks about the Messiah coming, and then the Messiah coming again, basically. Commanded, on the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem into the Messiah, and the prince shall be 70 weeks, and 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the wall, and even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. This is when Christ is crucified. And not for himself, and the people of the prince shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. This is talking about 70 AD. And the end thereof shall be with a flood. This is not talking about a physical. I mean, this is not talking about a flood of water. This is definitely talking about a different kind of flood, a flood of fire. And on to the end of the war, desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant. And that fire that is talking about, that war fire, that's talking about in the last days. He shall confirm the covenant with many for a week. Some people say that's 1,000 years or millennial reign. In the midst of the week, he shall cause sacrifice and inflation to cease. For overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. And even to the consummation, the determined shall be poured on the desolation. So basically, all of these desolations and stuff, all of this evil wickedness will end. So this part, it kind of skips back a little. That gave a broad view of a bunch of different things. And Daniel 1.
10 and 1.
10 and 1. That's what I'm playing.
Daniel 10 and 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long. And he understood the thing and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. Neither did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face has the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude.
Now, I wanted to, this right here, hold this, get Revelations 1 and 13.
I think I want, yeah, sure. That should be it.
The 1 and 14. Yeah, you can start it.
We should start at 13. Revelation 1 and 13. In the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girded about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
So you see the same thing here in Daniel 10 and 5, when it's talking about, I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold. It talked about the fine gold there in Revelations. His body was also like the beryl. Beryl, I believe that's talking about his linen, the color of his linen. Because it does say that he's wearing didn't it say he's wearing a green garment?
not 100% sure.
Maybe it's not that one. Maybe getting mixed up. Because beryl, let me look up the color beryl. The beryl is a green colored stone.
Okay.
Or unless you think he has a green body, I'm talking about just being sarcastic, then obviously that's the color of clothing he's wearing.
Oh, that can't he be his a green can't be his body because his arms and feet are like in color to polished brass. So there goes that.
And his face has the appearance of lightning. I've heard people hearken that to the appearance of lightning, being power and wisdom. And his eyes are the lamps of fire. Fire is red. What did it just say about his eyes?
As a flame of fire or something along those lines.
Oh, in Revelations, what did it say about his eyes?
Let me go back to it. Yeah, Revelation 1:14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Yeah, hold that. Let me continue. 7. When I, Daniel, alone saw this vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quaking fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. Therefore I was left alone. Well, 8. Therefore I was left alone, and I saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for comeliness. For my comeliness was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength. 9. Yet I heard the voice of his words, and when I heard the voice of his words, then I was in a deep sleep on my face, and my face toward the ground. Oh, I think that was it. I think I was mixing up 7 and 9. Is that what I was thinking?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, you can check back over at, we're at 10.
Yeah. Daniel 10:10. And behold, a hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright. For unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. And said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days. And when he had spoken such words unto me, I set my face toward the ground, and I became dumb. And behold, one like the similitude of the sons of men touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spake, and said unto him that stood before me, O my Lord, by the vision my sorrows are turned upon me, and I have retained no strength. For how can the servant of this my Lord talk with this my Lord? For as for me, straightway there remained no strength in me, neither is there breath left in me. Then there came again and touched me one like the appearance of a man, and he strengthened me, and said, O man greatly beloved, fear not, peace be unto thee. Be strong, yea, be strong. And when he had spoken unto me, I was strengthened, and said, Let my Lord speak, for thou hast strengthened me. Then said he, Knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince. Daniel 11 and 1. Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia.
And that would be, in secular histories even known, that would be Xerxes.
Verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, nor his arm. But she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. And shall also carry captives into Egypt and shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods, with their princes, and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold. He shall continue more years than the king of the north. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom, and shall return into his own land. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces. And one shall certainly come, and overflow, and pass through. Then shall he return, and be stirred up, even to his fortress. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. He shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. And when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish a vision, but they shall fall. So the king of the north shall come, and cast up a mount, and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land, which by his hand shall be consumed. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her. But she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. After this shall he turn his face into the isles, and shall take many. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. But within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. They shall come in peaceably, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the covenants.
So I just want to throw in there real quick. This is all talking about the Greeks. This was all that period talking about the Greeks. Because this I was trying to. All right, let you get. I still want. I'm going to try to get as much as possible, but the station for all persons and the honor of the kingdom. When it talks about then shall stand up in his states a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, because they had this part of Israel. This one's talking about this one. Well, within a few days it shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. How was Antiochus destroyed? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. It's been a while.
He got sick. He got massively sick, and he died. Very, very he had something like basically worms, like eating from the inside. Something like that. That's how he was taken down without. This one says, but
neither in anger nor in battle.
Exactly. That's how he was destroyed. But this was talking about Alexander. Then it was talking about the different Greek empires over, and this is going into like literally centuries of history within like a handful of scriptures, going down to this specific one, and it's starting to go down to the this is talking about Hellenization and all. It's a lot that's going on here, but so less, and then it talks about. And with the arms of the flood shall be overdrawn from him, it shall be broken. Yeah, also the prince of the covenant. This is talking about the overthrow of the Maccabees, also here.
Of the Hasmonean dynasty?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up, he shall become strong with a small people. This is when the Herodians took over. This is when the Herodians took over the Hasmonean dynasty. He shall enter peacefully, even with the fattest of places in the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil the riches. Yet he shall forecast his devices, his strongholds, for even a time. So this is basically talking about Herod taking over and doing what his fathers didn't do. But and this also starts going into like the Greeks and Herod. I mean, not the Greeks, but the Romans and the Herodians and all of this going on. So what do we look at? Oh, wait a couple minutes. Skim.
And there's still so much. Like we're barely at half.
So it is, for the ships of Chittim shall come against them, therefore shall be aggrieved and return, have the nation against the holy covenant. So yeah, this is talking about the Romans coming in there. Honor shall come against them, shall pollute the sanctuary. Yeah, all of this is talking about the Greeks and the Romans. Well, this is during the Greco-Roman period, so it's not completely into the Romans yet. But when it's talking about Chittim, it could be technically talking about both of those areas. But yeah, I definitely recommend you guys all read and do your homework on this. This gives you a ton of prophecy. I'm trying to think if I don't know. We might do a part 3. We might do a part 3. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know. I think Well, what I say all the time, what the Bible does is the Bible gives you a portion and then it explains it a little bit. Then it recites it again with a little bit more detail. Then it recites it again with a little bit more detail. And each time it just keeps giving more and more and more detail. And so you can literally go into the different various books, start going into Ezra. Ezra will start talking about some of this time period. Um, who else would you say would Nehemiah? I would say would start going into some of this stuff. There's various prophets that you can go and read into that start talking about, like I'm talking about, like for instance, the Medo-Persian Empire, and going into Cyrus, and then going into Darius, and then
Isaiah for sure.
There you go, Isaiah also, and then after that, of course, you'd have to go into the Maccabees to start going into the Greek period, and then of course into the New Testament, so-called New Testament. That's when he'll start going into the time of the Romans. But there's still, I feel like you could kind of pretty much from Daniel on, all of them are kind of going into, I would say, from the Medo, most of that is Medo-Persian time frame that's talking about. So but Daniel's kind of giving a broad overview, and so that's the reason why it says Israel has not listened to the prophets, because these prophets are all reciting and telling you the future. They keep telling them what to do, what's going to happen if they don't do X and so. Yeah, we will leave it there. Yeah, Streets, exactly. He says, reminds me of the old saying, there's nothing new under the sun. Exactly, there is nothing new. Jose, you got any words that you'd like to close us out with?
Nope, except for I think for Daniel 10, we probably, like, if there was going to be a part 3, we should have started that one. Well, we should have started that one with 10 too.
Well, we could always do that, but like this one, how even though we went into some 7 and some 8 last time, we went back. I gave a paraphrasing of 3, 4, 5. Then we went into 6, and then went 8, 9, 10. We could always run back to 10. Take a little bit more time with 10. Then go a little bit further.
All right.
We'll see, because it's imperative to understand. I mean, at least have a good grasp of a lot of this stuff, because it's going to make Revelations a lot easier. Because it's echo. A lot of this stuff is echo, and then once you have that understanding with Daniel and comparing that with Revelations, stuff in Jeremiah, stuff in Isaiah, stuff in Ezekiel, all of it's going to all start lining up.
Yeah, like Daniel is more or less like one of the earlier levels to trying to grasp Revelations, in that it goes through hundreds of years in just a few scriptures. And Revelations is even harder because you could jump into the future in one verse, you could talk into the present in another verse, and you jump to the past in another verse, and then back to the future again.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. At least with Daniel, it keeps going down the line, and then it resets, and then start going down the line, and then resets. But Revelations is going to jump ahead and then backwards and sideways. It's going to be all over the place. Whereas a lot of the other prophets might be, like, for instance, Ezra or Esdras, he'll be speaking mostly of a specific endpoint, where he's focusing a lot of detail in a specific area. And the same thing which you'll see with like Jeremiah also. I'm not saying that they don't go over a lot of stuff, but they all focus more and drill down on some certain things. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
So, oh yeah, I was gonna also say for those who don't know, I've been hopping on TikTok a little bit more. So far, I haven't really done too much stuff going into the Bible, but I am going to. I got a couple things planned. I call it. I've come up with the concept questions for Christians, and so it's going to be really, really short videos to check out. Questions for Christians. So if you're not following me on TikTok, follow me over there also. Um, what am I under? Trying to remember. I'll just start getting on TikTok. So, oh yeah, Marcus Young, Morpheus Cage. It shouldn't be hard to find me. But yeah, just find me over there. That said, let's go ahead and close it out. All right, sign us out, sir.
Call out Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach Yahushai. That is all praise, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son Yahushai. And with that we say, Shalom.
Well,